Well, on that, in terms of your training, let's get to that real quick. How has your training evolved over the years in terms of, obviously you started doing the USRPT pretty strictly. Talk to me about the evolution of your training a little bit.
Yeah, so I think the biggest area of our training evolving has kind of been in what I've started to focus in racing. So everything being very specific. So it's USRPT, ultra short race pace training. The number one ruling principle is specificity. So if we're going to train for a 50, it's got to be, 25s at that pace as much as possible, because the way our brain works, we create these neural pathways. So it's just like coding a computer. You want it to have an input so that when you come to output, it just happens subconsciously, naturally.
Sure.
What we have kind of changed, and this was something that kind of started, I'd say, 2018, 2019 world champs, after swimming all 450s at a high level, being happy with that. It was cool. I went through a phase where, man, all I want to do is sprint. I wanted to be the Bruno Fratus of all four strokes.
Yeah.
And it was fun, and I had the capability, but I remember finishing world champs and thinking, dang. And this was kind of fueled by other coaches and friends and mentors who were saying, man, Michael, you can swim all 450s that fast. Imagine you put that into a 200 IM. I'm like, oh, I hate hearing that, because it was an event when I was little. I had like this PTSD of the 4 IM and the 200 IM. I don't know what it came from, but it was just something that I never enjoyed training for. And it was always very difficult, because I understood that in order to, have that endurance for a 200, you're going to have to put in double the work in training. It's just, there's that correlation, and USRPT shows that. And so our training's evolved now in that we're focusing more on our 100 breaststroke, our 50 free, and that 200 IM, getting ready for the Olympic Games, where we know in order to make it and to finish those events well and strong, we're going to have to put in some more yardage. But the principle of training has stayed the same. So it's all about the repetition. It's short work, short rest. But instead of doing just 25s at 100 pace for a short amount, where you're probably reaching a max of maybe 2,500 yards a session, we're now pushing 4 or 5K at 200 pace with 50s, because that's just how it doubles as the distance doubles. So we're definitely putting more time in the pool. And that's what's kind of funny, is people look at USRPT and think, oh man, this has got to be so easy. Like, you're just swimming a bunch of 25s.
Yeah.
But every day gets harder. As much as it's the exact same set over and over, I think that's what makes it the hardest, is the fact that we can compare today's to yesterday's. And
so it's the same set.
Week, everything's the same.
Oh, okay.
The only thing that will ever change is now. So we're kind of, as we get back into it, the conditioning, our rest time is a little more like, so we're doing 5 extra seconds of rest, but as we start to get more conditioned, we'll drop down the rest time. But then the only thing that will ever change from there is our make times. So in theory, so say I'm training for a 2-minute 200 freestyle, and we're doing a 200 pace set, it would be, goal is max 30 50s at 15 seconds per 25. That split broke down would be our 2 minutes. Throughout the set of those 30, your body goes through each kind of segment of the 200 where you have to learn how to pace yourself. Obviously, if you gun it the first 650s, you're going to hurt the last quarter of that set. And you have to manage your fatigue under the rest, the breathing, all of that. And so I've learned how to pace myself in a race by pacing myself through these sets. And then obviously, because of that constant repetition of time, your body gets used to the velocity, the stroke, the tempo, the stroke count, the amount of kicks you have to do underwater, all sorts of things. But yeah, the set always stays the same. The goal is always 30 50s. But if you don't make your time, you don't make your interval, say you hit the wall and you're 31 seconds versus the 30, then you take a break, and that break is going to only be one cycle. So one cycle would be that 50 plus the rest you would have been allotted. So say it's 20 seconds per 50. So you get 50 seconds break, and then you go again. the moment you take 3 fails inside those 30 50s, you're done. Even if you've only made it to 16 50s. And the reason we do that is because that's kind of the only way you can communicate to your brain that the pace you're holding is too slow. So if we were to push through that and continue holding a slower pace, our body would then code those movements and think, oh, like I can make these times. These are good. But then when you come to race, you go a 2:02 versus your 2-minute 200 free. And so that's kind of the principle behind it. And then obviously do the same for fly, back, breast, free. The only things that are really different for me is our 200 IM sets are a little custom. It's not completely USRPT, at least completely to Dr. Brent Russell's science and methodology, but it's more something that I feel has worked. And I love it because what we'll do is we'll go 75s, but we'll do it fly, back, breast free. And we'll do a round of 6 or 7 75s 3 times through. And the idea is being able to go from energy systems where it's like fly to back, being able to switch strokes. Because if you don't do that in training and you go to swim at 200 IM and you switch and you swim all 4 strokes in one combined thing, it's very different on the whole body.
Shock the hell out of you. Yeah. Who, well, so many questions with this, by the way. I'm fascinated. It's very fascinating. How many times a week are you doing this?
Oh, every session.
I mean, how many sessions a week?
So right now we're doing, so I've done 6 swim sessions, or no, 7 since Monday. So we're doing 3 swims on Monday, 3 swims on Tuesday. We a single on Wednesday, and then we do another triple on Thursday, single on Friday, single on Saturday, and then Sunday is completely off.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
So
how long does the workout take?
So our morning swim is 2 hours. Then our second, so number 2 and number 3 of those days we triple are just an hour.
Okay.
And the reason we do that is we go in and we do 2 sets max, and it's just very intense effort, very little to no warm up, because the opening first couple 50s or 25s of the set, that counts as our warm up anyway.
Okay.
And then it's just kind of this deliberate, okay, we're going in, we're working, and we're getting out. I'm very fortunate too. The pool is like a block, 2 blocks inland. So the YMCA is really close. So we can make 3 sessions like that work. And it also kind of stemmed from the fact that, you know, when we first started booking with the Y, we're to this area where you can only slot 45 minutes. And they take 15 minutes to spray down the chairs, and you have to like wait and things like that. And so we were trying that manually kind of on our own, but now we've been very fortunate. They're letting us get in 3 times a day so we can at least get the amount of sets. So it's the same amount of sets we're doing, just spaced out across more sessions. So Monday, Tuesday feels pretty hectic. By the end of the day, it feels like I've literally just been to the pool, back, eat, nap, to the pool, back, eat, nap, to the pool, back, and then in bed, getting ready for the next day.
Well, not only that, you're glossing over to the pool situation. When you're at the pool, you're giving yourself a heart attack while you're there. You know, it's like bang, 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 rest.
Every time, like even the last like few sessions, I'll get out of the pool and my chest is red and my shoulders is like, man, this is the first time I've been like physically just destroyed. And so it's been fun getting back into it. But it is it's intense because we've kind of just jumped back into it full steam after quite a bit of a time, like kind of getting back into it. And so
I'm trying to figure this out as we're going. You're not just training to IM then. You're obviously training for the IM, then another session you'll train for the sprint event. And then, so you're basically breaking it up into events.
It is 100%. So like we typically have our morning sessions is more endurance based. So that's like where we'll do our 200 pace stuff. It's usually the hardest session. It takes the longest time, and you really mentally and physically have to be the most fresh for it. Because to do it at the end of the day, it's just going to be really difficult. So we put our 200 pace in the morning, and then the middle session, we do more of an aerobic. That's where we do like our 75s. So it's still 200 pace focus, but the time isn't as much a factor because we're pushing these 75. So it's kind of grinding and getting to a point where, so my biggest issue in the 200 IM is that last 50. I can be on world record pace to the 150 meters. But the moment I hit that last 50 and come back freestyle, I go a 30 point. Now, that's what's going to be my defining factor, whether I break that world record or not. is if I can finish that last 50 strong. And so that's kind of why we're doing those 75s, get to a point of just fatigue, breakdown, and then we'll do Katsu training, which is just blood flow restriction at the end of it to really simulate that pain and learning how to push through that. And then all while maintaining this extension, length, stroke, things like that we lack in the race.
So you've set your times at you've set your paces at world record pace, basically.
Yeah, but it's converted to short course. So we train short course yards primarily. Very rarely do we actually do any long course training. Does
that hurt you?
I think not as much as most people would imagine. For me, I prefer racing long course. I'm much stronger in the swim. I'll swim people down, but I lose it in the turns in the underwater. So I like the short course training because it's forcing me to get better underwater. But I do, there was a part I remember in the summer going into March, we were doing 2 or 3 sessions of our 200 pace work, long course. And I think that's ideal. Really the reason we do everything short course now though, is one, pool space is hard, but for training for 100 free, 100 breast, 100 fly, 100 back, all that as well. You can't do it in a long course pool. At least I don't. Like the way we train with USRPT, it's really not smart to hold 50s at 100 pace, and you can't really stop in the middle of the pool.
Sure.
It changes the dynamic completely.
Yep.